Yo, what is good, people? Ben from Lover of Tech.
Darius Tech here.
And we are here for a special four-way camera comparison. And this one is massive. It's between the Galaxy S25 Ultra, the iPhone 16 Pro Max, the Pixel 9 Pro XL, and
Vivo X200 Pro.
And big thank you to Darius for coming through with the Vivo X200 Pro. Make sure to go check out his channel and subscribe. He's got a camera comparison up for you. But for this one, we're going big and we are testing everything. Daylight, low light, front-facing camera, rear cameras, pictures, and also when it comes to videos. So stay tuned and locked. Let's get this in.
I'm so excited. Let's go.
It's here, and it's now time to put the Galaxy S25 Ultra through its paces when it comes to the camera. And this is going to be a big one. Our definitive camera comparison against the iPhone 16 Pro Max, the Pixel 9 Pro XL, and the Vivo X200 Pro. Now, thanks to my guy here, Darius Tech, he came through with the Vivo X200 Pro. We are going all out and doing it four-way. It's going to be a tough and difficult one, not just for the capturing experience and these phones against each other, for us having to edit and capture it as well. We are pushing ourselves to the limit and making it happen. We can't wait to see what's gonna happen when it comes to this definitive camera comparison. We're gonna make it as quick fire as possible and have fun with it. Darius?
Let's get started.
Are you ready?
Let's go.
You sure?
Yes.
Let's get it. Okay, let's kick things off with the daytime pictures. We're gonna go with the rear cameras with us in the frame as the subject. We've got four phones here. Pixel 9 Pro XL on the far left, then camera 2, which is iPhone 16 Pro Max, Phone 3, which is the Galaxy S25 Ultra, then the Vivo X200 Pro. Just to clarify, this is not the global model that we have. This is the China model, supplied by Darius Tech. Again, go subscribe to him. Go watch his camera comparison as well. I really appreciate your support here. Now, we're gonna start from the widest, which is the ultra wide, which is their respective 0.6x or 0.5x. Now, 0.5x is iPhone and Pixel. They're the widest. But when I'm looking at it off the jump, apart from the sky exposure, I like the Vivo.
You see, I don't like Vivo here at all, even though the clarity is the best there. I love ultra wide angle. So for me, it's between the Pixel and an iPhone. I love that wider field of view just to get more in your shot. So for me, it's going to be draw between these two. I don't like, you see, I can hardly see your face on Samsung there. So.
Oh no, Samsung's not in this one. For me, it's Vivo. Apart from obviously the exposure of the sky, like I said, I like. And again, you have to remember, it's dealing with both of us. You know, I'm black, you're white. Complexions are complete polar opposites.
Very challenging.
And then obviously the colors that you're wearing and I'm wearing, this is the biggest challenge we're gonna give any of these phones at the same time. You know, so yeah, let's move over to 1X. And I would say that the lens flaring doesn't help on the Vivo, so I don't like it too much. I like the Pixel more out of all of these, if I'm gonna be honest with you, then followed by the Samsung.
Same. See, again, there was loads of comments about Vivo having the flare issues, especially at night. And I have issued that before at night. I have never experienced this daytime, so that was interesting to see that actually this happens daytime sometimes. So it is what it is.
It's what it is. Now we've gone into 2X. Now how we've labeled it is, when it's a crop, we'll label it. When it's actually an optical zoom, we will say zoom. This is all cropping because it's cropping on the 1X. Now, which one is actually processing it best? You know what? I like the Vivo. Minus the lens flare, out of all of them, that's the one that sticks out to me the most.
The clarity is just insane comparing. Like, we look at the iPhone or look at the Pixel. They are struggling there.
Next is 3X. And in this particular situation, the only one that is optical is Samsung, right? Unfortunately, it is still low resolution at 10 megapixels. Hopefully Samsung upgrades it to high resolution on the S26 Ultra next year. But for now, that's the one that's optically doing well. And it's doing the best in my opinion. Funny enough, the Pixel holds up better than I thought. And then the Vivo. The iPhone looks way too soft.
I can't believe it. Like, iPhone is just, it's just not there at all. Like, there is no clarity, there's nothing there. It's just blurry.
Nothing. Next is the 3.7X. Now, in this situation, it's the Vivo that is optically zooming in. The others are now doing a crop on their last sensor. So for the Samsung, it's doing a crop on a 3X. Right? So this is what we're seeing. Again, iPhone's not involved. I'm really surprised by how well processed the Pixel 9 Pro XL is, but I have to say, it's between the Vivo and the Samsung. It's Vivo first, then Samsung second.
Yeah, you see, when you have optical telephoto lens, especially 200 megapixels, you can see the difference. And people saying, oh, pixel doesn't matter. Yeah, they do. Not always, but in this case, when you take portraits in such a big zoom, it makes a huge difference.
Last but not the least is the 5X. Now, it's optical zooming on the Pixel, iPhone, and Samsung, but this is now a digital crop on a 3.7X on a Vivo. And I have to say, Samsung is looking really good here. The iPhone looks a bit more washed out than I was expecting, but personally, it's between the Samsung and the Pixel, and then Vivo's in the mix as well.
Yeah, but to be honest, I'm surprised about the Vivo because again, this is the crop. Again, we got 200 megapixel sensor, so even if you crop it in, you still get a decent quality. And I think the quality on Vivo is actually better on iPhone.
Interesting. Let us know what you think in the comment section below. Now we're in the high resolution modes. We're sticking to JPEG, not RAW, to save the time in terms of editing. This is already a massive upgoing with this edit. So if you appreciate the effort that we're putting in here, be sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss any future videos when it comes to our definitive camera comparisons. And of course, up until the 28th of February, 2025, we are doing a giveaway for one lucky subscriber to win a Galaxy S25 Ultra. Go and watch our extreme battery drain test for full details there. Now, we're seeing that all these cameras have different high resolution modes, right? Let's start with the ultra wide. All of them do 50 megapixels or 48 megapixels, give or take which one. And to do high resolution, you need a bright day like this. The pixels become very small and they don't take in as much light, so you need a lot of light. And already from the jump, I love what I'm seeing on the Vivo.
Yeah, first my eyes just dropped straight to the Vivo. Like,
straight
wow,
to
the clarity, the colors, the dynamic range. You actually, that's what you need in this kind of weather. Like, look at the Samsung. I can hardly see your face again.
Yep,
it's really
absolutely
struggling there.
Agreed. Now we go into the 1X. Things change up a little bit, right? All of them do high resolution mode at 50 megapixels. And again, the lens flaring has shown up on the Vivo, which is unfortunate, right? And I'll probably say the Pixel is the best at the 1X overall.
I'm gonna agree on that. Yeah.
And if we take that into account, the rest are okay, but definitely I'll say Pixel takes this one.
Yeah.
Now, still in the 1X mode, the Samsung does have a 200 megapixel mode for the 1X, okay? So again, this is the best case scenario for it. It's pretty much behaving the same. File sizes are much bigger. So yeah, that's just the difference that we're seeing here.
But I have to say, I like the picture on Samsung now.
Yeah, definitely. Now when we go into the zoom mode, right? We've got 5X on the Pixel and the Samsung and 3.7X on the Vivo X200 Pro at 50 megapixels, right? The iPhone doesn't have a high resolution 5X, it's only 12 megapixels, so it's not involved, hence why it's still on 1X. And I have to say, man, all of them look good. It's hard to pick, right? I like what I'm seeing on Samsung, I like what I'm seeing on Pixel, and I like what I'm seeing on the Vivo. Maybe the highlights around my face on the Vivo is a little bit blown, if I'm being picky, but that's it.
Yeah, you see, again, I think my face is just too sharp on the Vivo. Look at it, it's just over sharpening a little bit too much. I would go for the Pixel on this one.
Nice. And last one for the high resolution mode is 200 megapixels on a 3.7x zoom for the Vivo X200 Pro. Do you think it's improved there? I don't see much of a difference in my opinion.
When I look at my face, I think this is just a little bit better. It's not a huge difference though, but I can see the difference.
Well, it's in the eye, so let us know which one you think it is. Now, let's run it back. Let's activate the portrait mode. And I have to admit, portrait mode was interesting. I want to kind of put a disclaimer out there, right? I do not know what is wrong with the Pixel 9 Pro XL at the minute. It's on the latest software update, and I will personally show B-roll of the timeline, of the raw images, and also of the gallery to show you that these are portrait mode images. It would then try and process it and just not work. We tried it with an internet connection, without an internet connection, restarted the phone. We did everything. So for anyone that's probably gonna think that we're just making a Pixel 9 Pro XL look bad, right? We are not. There's something wrong somewhere. So we just wanna put it out there. So
also, sorry,
no, it's fine.
Because
no, you're good.
literally 2 weeks ago, my brother came from Poland. We did like another collaboration. And again, I was so disappointed with the Pixel, and it was exactly the same scenario. The portrait photography just was not working
at all.
So there's something going on.
There's something going on, right? But to kick it off from the 1X perspective, now with the Vivo, you're gonna be seeing it in focal length millimeters, and I'll tell you what the equivalence is. The 23mm is the 1X. Minus the lens flaring, if we're just gonna focus on edge detection, blur, and blur quality, right? Vivo is doing it well. But the overall image, right? Even though the exposure on me is a bit darker than I would like, I prefer the Samsung.
I'm gonna say iPhone here for me.
Ooh.
Now
It's a bit subtle though.
Yeah. Now going back to the flares, some people say, "Oh, you didn't clean the lens." We were literally wiping it every 5 minutes.
Between software updates and cleaning the lenses, how
Yes.
paranoid were we?
Yeah.
Exactly.
So I don't want to see any comments saying that the lenses were dirty. No.
Absolutely. Okay, you go with iPhone. I'm going with the Samsung. And then the Vivo is still good minus the lens flaring.
Yeah.
Now, the rest are in their 1x mode or Pixel 1.5x as it does it, right? The 35mm on the Vivo is actually the equivalent of 1.5x. So there's that extra bit of flexibility there. And I ain't gonna lie to you, this looks good. Still, again, a little bit of flaring is less now, but that Vivo is looking very good at 35mm.
See, however, I don't really like the punchy green because this is just not natural.
On the foliage,
iPhone just
on the
looks
grass.
a little bit more natural. Even on Samsung, the grass is just a little bit too grass, and you got that pale color there on the Pixel, which is just
On a cold day like this, it don't look like that at all. Now let's go into their 2x mode. Again, 50mm is the 2x mode. And again, we've said everything we need to say about the Pixel. We're just not gonna go there. I'll show the evidence for that. Now, in the 2x mode, again, I still think it's between the Vivo and the Samsung. I like the subtleness of the, iPhone 16 Pro Max. And again, a lot of these phones now, you can go into the edit, add more blur, take more blur away. And I'm sure with the Pixel, when we tried it, even though it wasn't doing it now, you can add the blur afterwards. That's not the point. But for me, man, I'm still going with the Samsung just out of the fact that the overall image is managed better without the flare.
Okay, hear me out. Look at your jacket color. Every single picture looks different. Your jacket was black, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Which is the most accurate? I think the iPhone probably the closest to what you can see on your naked eye, or is it more the Samsung?
I don't disagree, but I'm looking at the overall image when it comes to portrait mode. When we're judging portrait mode, we want to look at how good the edge detection is, how good the blur quality is, subjectively and as objectively as possible. So I'm going with that in that sense,
fair
right?
enough.
But
I like to look at the color accuracy as well.
Fair.
But I get it, we've got different opinions, so yeah, fair enough.
Let us know which one you would go for when you're prioritizing for portrait mode. Now, next here is 3x, okay? 85mm, and this is the 3.7x for the Vivo, right? Now, the others don't have this mode. The Pixel does, but again, it just wasn't working, so we just won't go there. We're looking at this, and obviously the Vivo, minus how punchy the colors are, the Vivo really does do the portrait mode. The edge detection is immaculate.
It shines.
The portrait blur can look a bit exaggerated, but you can dial it back, but at least it does it. So I like what I'm seeing on the Vivo. And then the Samsung, it's nice and subtle, very nice and subtle. I think you might have to add a bit more blur in post, but it's nice and subtle.
Yeah, I think it's depending on your personal preference. Like for social media, probably go with the Vivo.
Yeah.
If you want a bit more natural look, then probably stick with Samsung.
Absolutely. And last but not the least is the 5x mode. Again, natively, you are allowed to do that. Of course, with the Vivo, it is doing a crop to that kind of equivalent length, right? Around 6x. But my goodness, it still looks good.
Yeah.
It still looks good. But I'll be honest with you, I think it just overdoes it too much. In my opinion, this is between the iPhone and the Samsung. And I think for me, the iPhone steals it just a little bit. Not by much.
Yeah. See, I'm a huge portrait photography fan, and I have to say, like 135mm equivalent is not very popular on the smartphones. You can hardly see it. But again, like it's just maybe a little bit too much. But what's great about the Vivo, then you can edit it like literally with one finger of tip. Just tap it, bring the
And dial it in.
down, and then just do it the way you want.
That's fair. That's fair. Not wrong there. Okay, front-facing camera, right? We're looking at the selfies, and this was quite challenging for them, right? Because both of us were framing for 4 phones to be able to crop, and just the way it needs to prioritize us. I'll be honest with you, the Vivo X200 Pro completely fell apart with the selfie. I don't even think it's involved. And for me personally, Pixel 9 Pro XL.
Same. I'm a huge selfie fan because I do a lot of selfies. When I do my thumbnails, like I get loads of comments, oh, who uses a selfie? There are still loads of people using
selfies,
selfie.
man. Selfies are a good thing.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I like the wider field of view, like
Pixel 9 Pro XL.
Nails it. Yeah.
Nails it. Absolutely nails it. Absolutely nails it. And then the funny thing is, we go to portrait mode and then it works. So it's the most confusing thing why the portrait mode was working and processing on the selfie. It was storing the metadata as portrait mode on the back cameras, but just wasn't processing it. Again, state of confusion for portrait mode and Pixel, we don't know. But it worked. The others didn't. I feel like the others only really like doing portrait mode with a single person as close as you get, which is quite unfortunate. So if you wanted to do group portrait mode, it seems like the others just don't play ball.
Now, especially with the Vivo, you will be struggling. I mentioned that several times because I've been playing with the Vivo for over 2 months and I've made several videos and the selfie is just not there, unfortunately. There's no autofocus, it's just too much softness. You have to get really, really close, but who's gonna do selfie like that?
And even when you get really close, this is one where we got really close with the S25 Ultra and the iPhone 16 Pro Max. That's when the portrait mode kicked in. At least it did.
Yeah.
But if you're going to be doing group portraits, right, it's going to struggle unless you really get close. But at least it worked, right? The Vivo didn't at all. And that is just disappointing. Vivo, hopefully you really sort out the selfie when it comes to pictures because everything else with the rear camera, it's really good.
Oh yeah.
Okay, let's move us out of the way. Let's look at some landscape images.
And this is going to be a quick one.
It's going to be quick.
Yeah.
We're really looking at landscape and also extended zoom, right? Let's punch it in. And obviously we've said it, from the ultra wide, we love what we're seeing on the Pixel and the iPhone because it's an actual genuine ultra wide, 0.5x, right? So they look really good. But in terms of the color balance, the Samsung and the Vivo are not bad at all. It's just unique characteristics. But honestly, the ultra wide I prefer on the iPhone and the Pixel.
You see, I don't really like the over sharpening on the iPhone. Look at the grass. I think it's just a little bit too much details.
Yeah,
but that might be just me.
You have a point. Now we'll go into the 1X mode. For me, the Vivo is a bit too saturated, in my opinion, right? And I think it's just much more representative of the colors that you're seeing on a Pixel 9 Pro XL, especially on the day that we had. But yeah, that's just me personally.
And I have to say the same. And I love, we're going to see that later on, how iPhones stay consistent through other lenses, which I really like.
Yeah, we appreciate that. Now 2X, as labeled, this is all a crop on the main wide sensor. I don't like the Pixel now because if you look at the yellow gate, there's some color changing and moire, which isn't really pleasing and it's distracting. The processing on the 16 Pro Max isn't all that great. It's a bit fuzzy. I would say the Vivo has the better processing in 2X in this situation.
Yeah, sadly, Pixel has the smaller sensor. You can see the difference.
Yeah. Now we go into 3X zoom. In this 3X mode, it is optically favoring the S25 Ultra. The rest are still doing a crop on the main 1X. And in this situation, it is Samsung that takes it. Yes, it's still low resolution, but it's an optical sensor. It's the one that's doing the best out of all of them.
Again, it's going to be down to your personal preference. So let us know which one do you prefer.
Nice. Now we go into the 3X zoom mode. This is optically favoring the Vivo X200 Pro. The rest are doing a crop. The crop from the Samsung is not that far because it's from the 3X, whereas the others are coming from the 1X, so they're much more drastic. The iPhone and the Pixel, especially the Pixel, is really falling apart. Does not look good. For me, it's the Vivo and then the Samsung.
Same.
Now let's get into the real extended zoom territory. 5X zoom. This is optically favoring S25 Ultra, iPhone 16 Pro Max, Pixel 9 Pro XL. 5X crop is coming from the 3.7X on the Vivo, right? And in this extended zoom mode, man, I do have to say the S25 Ultra is looking good. The Pixel is not bad. It's actually the colors are a bit more saturated, but I would say that the detail isn't as bad. I didn't think the detail was that good on the iPhone, in my opinion.
You know what? I like them all. They're just different in their own way.
Approach.
Like they're just nice. Like I really like it. Quite surprisingly, they all do it really well.
Let's take it a step further. 10X, a crop from their 5X and 3.7X respectively, and things are heating up. Here right now, I'm actually not sure which one to go for. Personally, I like the color balance on the iPhone now, all of a sudden, the color balance, but in terms of the detail, looking at the text, the Samsung in this situation for me.
You see, and look how much closer the iPhone is comparing with the others. So even though it's times 10, but it's actually
slightly different.
Away,
Slightly different. Now let's hit some of the maximum zooms. 25X is the maximum on the iPhone, 30X on the Pixel, and then you've got 30X on the Samsung and 30X on the Vivo, right? Here, for me personally, is the Vivo and the Samsung. The iPhone, my goodness, forget about it. Pixel, it's just about, but not really there. It's really down to the Samsung and the Vivo for sure.
I'm gonna agree on that.
And then the Samsung and the Vivo have the 100X mode. Honestly, guys, 100X is just whatever. But in the whatever, the Vivo somehow does the best, right? And considering it's coming back from a further 3.7X zoom, this is where the AI processing in a high resolution helps.
And you know, for all what I tested so far, I think Vivo X200 Pro still has the best 100x zoom.
Yeah, in this situation, It does. And closing off the last landscape images is the high resolution modes. Again, no different to when we were in the frame. They all do ultra wide when it comes to high resolution. Again, sticking to JPEG, not RAW. So this is pretty much this. We're leaving it here for you to kind of have a look for yourself. And then you've got the 1x mode as well. Of course, all at 50 megapixels. Again, this is probably going to be the best scenario that you use it because of daylight. But when there's not daylight, don't use it. It becomes really noisy. Then you've got the 200 megapixel mode for the Samsung. Again, if you're watching this in 4K, watch it on your mobile, biggest device, pinch the zoom so you can really see it. Just saving time so we can get through this.
Something very important actually that I'm going to mention about the Vivo. Do you remember, by default, you get vivid color. We switched to natural and you still get that punchy color. So yeah, we wanted to go as natural as possible on all of these devices.
Absolutely. When you go into the default settings, I'll try and get some B-roll of it before Darius goes. But when you reset the camera defaults, it does go to vivid. We're choosing natural, right? To just balance things out, but you can see the processing is still there. And as shown from before, when you do the extended zoom, you've got 200 megapixel on the Vivo and 50 megapixel on the Pixel and the Samsung. And the iPhone doesn't have a high resolution zoom, so it's stuck at a 1x.
Yeah.
Now, as Rihanna would say, turn off the lights in here, baby. Let's go outdoors nighttime. Honestly, we were defeated by the rain. On the day that we really wanted to do it, it set us back by another day, but at least it was clear skies. It was cold, but we managed to get it in. Now, how things work with nighttime shots is very different when I'm doing my definitive camera comparison. And if you've not been here before, and this is your first time, and you are appreciating the in-depth, thorough, methodical nature of our definitive camera comparison, then be sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss any future videos on the Lover of Tech channel, especially when it comes to our definitive camera comparison. Road to 100,000 subscribers is back on the table for 2025. And with your support, we can definitely make it happen. And don't forget, go over to Darius Tech's channel when it comes to lots of camera comparisons that he does and get him to 100K subscribers as well. We're pretty much close, so let's make it happen. What we do with nighttime shots is we go through the process of doing it without night mode on, then with night mode, and then flash where it is applicable. Now, the reason why is this, it's the capture experience. Now, sometimes capturing without night mode usually is much quicker, right? Night mode does help with exposure, but it's long exposure. You have to worry about things like shake and light bleed, right? And then some cases using flash is quicker and better exposure. So we like to show all three. Let's start with us in the frame, right? Without night mode, from the widest and then to the zoom, ultra wide, right? iPhone is not in this at all. It just looks too grainy, right? That's the one there. It just does not look the part. In this case, I like the exposure on the Pixel, definitely, and I like the exposure on the Samsung. I do like the Vivo, but I think for me, it's Pixel, Samsung, Vivo, then iPhone. Let's move over to the 1x mode. Again, the iPhone still looks soft. Here is still between the Pixel and of course the Samsung, and Vivo's right back in there, but I feel like the colors on the Vivo punches up a bit too much.
Yes.
Right? And your mustard bag, that moment bag, that's really, really nice. It's just a bit too yellow.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Samsung here.
Yeah, Samsung for sure. Now we're cropping into the ×2 mode, and things just keep getting more difficult for the iPhone. Again, the iPhone's not part of it. The Pixel to me processes really well. It does look a bit over sharpened, right? But I like it. And again, the Vivo does look good, but it definitely looks smeary, right? It looks over-processed. It's definitely between the Samsung and the Pixel. I'm going Pixel.
I'm going to say Pixel. Remember, guys, we can see this on a huge screen, so we have been very picky in some of the scenarios. Probably when you watch on the mobile phone, you might not see as much different as we do.
Now we are in their respective 3x zoom mode. Again, 3.7x on the Vivo, 3x on the others. And of course, things just keep getting worse for the iPhone, right? This is the Pixel show. Things have really dropped off for the Samsung.
Got so much darker,
It's dropped off. It's the Pixel and the Vivo for this one.
I'm gonna say Vivo just shines there.
It does.
Wow.
It does. It does. It does. And the furthest extended, which is 5x. And of course, the iPhone is just completely dead in the water. It does need night mode to really help it. The Pixel does fall apart. So I would say it's the Vivo this time. It's Vivo, Pixel, Samsung, and then the iPhone.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a huge difference between Vivo #1 and the rest of it. Like, I mean, I don't even want to look at the iPhone. This is so bad.
It is. It is. Now, let's run it back. Same sequence, but now with night mode. And my goodness, did the iPhone need night mode? Look at the difference.
Yeah.
People, you're doing low light images with the iPhone, use night mode. It is the lifesaver. And in fact, I feel like the Samsung doesn't even need night mode for the ultra wide. It's not over processed it too much. And in some cases, the Pixel, I don't even think it needs it. It's over processed it a little bit too much. The Vivo now, all of a sudden, even the colors are nicely balanced.
But I'm gonna say that I prefer Samsung here because of the flares. It was the only device that managed to get it nicely. Look at that.
True. From the flaring angle, I would say that you're right, but I like the color cast from what I'm seeing on the Vivo for sure.
Yeah, see, I get too much distracted by the looking of those flares, so I don't really like that. So I'm gonna stick with the Samsung.
Awesome. Next is the 1x mode, and all of them do great, minus the Pixel because of the lens flaring. So we're gonna duct it, but it's really in the margins now. There is slight flaring maybe on a Samsung, but it's so subtle. I don't think you're gonna be able to tell on your display since we've got it on a big 4K 48-inch TV that we're using. So I would probably pick the Vivo in this one.
Yeah, for me, it's going to be between the Vivo and Pixel, even though the flare, I like the quality.
Yeah, I like the quality.
Especially
Minus
on my
the flare.
face, yeah. I mean, it's a little bit too much going on the Vivo on my face there, but yeah.
Now we've gone into the respective 2x crop mode with night mode active, right? I think the Samsung overdoes it a little bit too much on you, you. It really does that too much. I like what I'm seeing on the iPhone. I prefer the iPhone for this one.
You see, I'm going to go with Pixel here.
Pixel does look good. I'm just worried about the lens flaring a little bit.
Yes, it is again, yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
Again, remember, we wiped the screens, okay? It was nice and shiny.
Let's go into the 3x mode. And for me personally, things just soften up a bit too much on the iPhone. I don't really like the look of it. Things do look good now with night mode active on the 3x for the Samsung. I really like it. And yeah, the Pixel's not bad. The Vivo, I think it's shining really well. What do you think?
You see, my favorite is the Vivo. Then I'm gonna go Pixel, then Samsung, and sadly the iPhone is just not with
too
us.
soft. And then last is their 5x zoom mode. Not for me on the Pixel. I just look way too cartoony, right? I don't like it. It just doesn't look good. For me in this one, honestly, it's gonna be the iPhone.
You see, I'm gonna go. For me, it's between the Samsung and the Vivo.
Okay, for me, it's the iPhone.
Fair enough.
And then the third set. This is now with using a flash. And I just want to say something. And I'm personally going to take credit for being the only one that kept complaining about it. You can now use the flash on the ultra wide with Samsung. For the longest time, Samsung were not allowing you to use the ultra wide and the flash together. Why is that important? If you are taking group pictures in low light, using a flash is a great option, as well as night mode. And for whatever reason, they didn't allow you. Now you can do it. Hurrah and bravo. All of them do ultra wide flash. But I'll be honest with you in this situation, the Vivo's out of it. The colors completely went off. I don't like the colors on that one. It's between the Samsung and the Pixel.
And I have to say, guys, when I do night photography shot, I never use the flashlight. After watching this and being able to experience this, I'm gonna say I'm gonna use it a lot more now because you can clearly see the difference.
Absolutely. Now we are in the 1x mode. The colors become a little bit better on the Vivo. I just don't like the control around our eyes, right? But I'll be honest with you, I like the stylistic look of the iPhone. It has kind of like a stylized look to the flash exposure. But the Pixel, in terms of just complete exposure, is probably the cleanest in my opinion.
I see, I can't really pick because now I can see the difference between the shots. Like they're not very consistent as well. They keep changing. The colors are changing. The balance is changing. Like it's really tricky.
True. Now in the 2x mode, already I can tell the Pixel. Now in the 2x mode, I can already tell the iPhone is just not there. Now the flash is powerful, but the image processing is just too soft and too noisy. In this particular situation, it is between the Samsung and the Pixel. The only reason why I'm not giving it to the Vivo, again, the colors. I just don't like the colors that I'm seeing with the flash.
I'm gonna agree on that, absolutely.
Now we are in their respective 3x mode. The two that fall apart is the iPhone first in terms of lack of clarity, It's the colors for the Vivo. I don't like them. It's between the Pixel and the Samsung. Now, two things here. The Samsung looks too noisy and the eye processing is not that great. The Pixel looks too overprocessed. I look cartoony, you look cartoony. But honestly, apart from that, it's the best one.
Yeah, from like, when I look at this quickly, my eyes just draw straight to the Pixel,
Yeah,
even though
absolutely.
There's a lot going on in there.
Yeah, but
I like
it's
it.
overall, it's
Yeah,
gonna be the best one. Last but not the least is the 5X. And again, I'm still gonna give it to the Pixel. It's like the best of the worst situation you're given. It's the Pixel for me.
You see, things are very interesting here, even though I know Vivo, the color is just not there. But maybe with a bit of editing, you can bring that down, because look at the quality. It makes it so much better than everything else. But because of the colors,
I don't know what's going on there.
I'm not sure. We
Not
kept the
good.
same, natural effect, and it's just not doing it right.
Now, standard pictures done, we are in portrait mode. And boy, what an experience and tricky one this was. Let's start with 1X or 23mm for the Vivo. Honestly, in this situation, it's the Vivo and Samsung show. The iPhone has a current problem where it doesn't work in 1X without night mode. It does need night mode and flash for it to work. And again, we said the problem with the Pixel. I've shown you the metadata, I'll show you the B-roll, I'll show you the evidence. It stores it as portrait mode. It just does not work, and we don't know why. Now, between Vivo and Samsung, I think it's a tie. I can't pick. For once, I just cannot pick between them.
Yeah, I think it's going to be down to the personal preference.
Yeah.
However, I'm going to give something to Pixel. My hat is actually representation of the colors. It is the hat, that creamy color.
Yeah.
When you look at Samsung and Vivo, this looks like it's white. It's actually not. It's
True.
creamy.
But end of the day, we're looking at portrait mode. It just didn't work at all.
Yeah.
Now we've gone into the 35mm mode for the Vivo. It's the equivalent of 1.5X. And like I said, this is really the Vivo and a Samsung show. The iPhone now kicks in ever so slightly because of the 2X mode that we're seeing, right? The Pixel, again, whatever reason, it just didn't want to work. But it is the Vivo and a Samsung show, really and truly. And I think Vivo takes it for this one.
I'm going to agree on that.
Now we've gone into the 50mm mode for the Vivo, right? So the rest stay the same at their 2X. And now we're in the 2X mode, 50mm for the Vivo. Now, in terms of tack sharpness, it does look soft, right? Even though it looks clean.
Yeah.
Okay, but if I'm judging portrait mode, man, the Vivo still, it bangs. It does bang.
Yeah, a little bit too soft for me. I think Samsung would be my choice for this one.
Okay, fair. For clarity and detail,
Yeah.
Samsung. Now we've gone into their 3X zoom mode, right? For the Samsung, 3.7X for the Vivo. And I have to say, this Vivo is banging. Look, if we're going to be mission critical, the highlight control around my face, right, could be better. But if I'm judging portrait mode, edge detection, blur, it's the Vivo for me. Like the Samsung does it, but it's more subtle patches. You really have to look, whereas the Vivo tells you, this is portrait mode.
Yeah, that's how you do it. It just brings it to the next level. When
Yeah.
you look at this, it's just giving you that DSLR look, and it's just brilliant.
Absolutely. Now we've gone into the furthest extended zoom mode. The 5X kicks in for the iPhone, right? Then you got a 5X on the Samsung. Then you've got the 135mm mode for the Vivo. For me, it's the Vivo.
I mean, it's a clear winner.
It's just a clear win.
I remember when I stood there and you watch, you were running behind the lenses, and then you was like, whoa! And I knew that you were
Dude,
just so amazed
dude,
about the Vivo.
It's the Vivo all the way.
Just so much difference. Wow.
Now we've run it back. Portrait mode with night mode active. And for the sake of transparency, the Pixel's not there. I personally got frustrated and tired trying to baby it and get it to work. I've shown it many times. The metadata's there. It shows it as portrait mode with night mode. It just wasn't processing, right? So we thought, let me just remove it, focus on the three that are working. And in this particular situation, we've got the iPhone, we've got the Samsung, we've got the Vivo. And in this situation here, all of them look great. I can't actually pick. They just all look really good, right? Colors slightly different, but the portrait mode performance itself, excellent with night mode on.
Yeah, it's just a nice, pleasing look of
Yeah.
all of them.
Yeah.
But a huge disappointment for Pixel. Like in the past, I had such a great pictures with
I don't
Pixel,
know.
especially at night. It was one of my favorites, but now I
No, I
just
don't know what's going
happening.
on. Don't know what's going on. Check my previous camera comparisons with the Pixel 9 Pro XL. You'll see it working, but right now, we just don't know. Again, if we're gonna really allow it to win for this round, it's gonna be the iPhone because there's no form of flaring at all in it, right? But apart from that, they all look great.
I agree. I don't like that. My face on Samsung is just a little bit too bright. And you got that flare on Vivo, sadly.
Now, sticking to the same focal lengths, again, Vivo does have the advantage of that 1.5x 35mm, and it looks great. I have no complaints. It just, no flaring. It's just good.
Just the perfect shot.
It's just perfect.
Yeah. You can't really find anything that I don't like about this picture. It's just beautiful.
Yep. Now we are in the 2x mode, 50mm on the Vivo. And here I'm going with Samsung just purely based on better processing and detail. I just think the Vivo looks clean, but just looks too soft.
Definitely too soft. And again, remember, ×2, this is just a crop in, and you can clearly see the difference, that the quality is just not there.
Yep, Samsung all the way for this one with night mode. Now we are in their respective 3x zoom mode. 3x on the Samsung, 3.7x on the Vivo, right? 85mm, as it would call it. And it's the Vivo all the way. Sorry, Samsung, but you just didn't work. I mean, you did slightly, you can tell by the windows, there is a slight blur, but it's the Vivo all the way.
It takes that 85mm is just a beautiful portrait.
Clean.
Nice.
Clean. And final one is the maximum extended zoom at 5x and 135mm. Again, it's the Vivo. Samsung does it a little bit. It's just not enough. Even with night mode, you can barely tell, right?
Yeah.
And for me, it's the Vivo all the way.
Shame about the background, the blurry background effect on Samsung, because, you know, the clarity, the details are there.
Oh, it's there.
But
no portrait mode. There's not enough of it. There's not enough of it. Again, it's the Vivo and Samsung show. There is night mode on the iPhone, but it's only on the 1X, hence why it's been stuck at 1X.
Yeah, it's strange again, because Vivo, remember, this is not optical zoom, this is crop in. Yep. Samsung should be shining here because it's actually using that optical zoom.
You're correct. Now, for all the great things we've said about the Vivo when it comes to portrait mode, it rears its head where it does not work with flash at all. So we've had to remove it. And the two phones that work with portrait mode and flash is the Samsung and the iPhone, right? iPhone on the left, Samsung on the right. And in this particular situation, both are kind of comparable. I'll probably say the iPhone balances things better, where you look a bit kind of magenta in the Samsung with the flash. I'm gonna go with the iPhone on this particular one.
See, I don't like the face on the iPhone. I prefer the look on the Samsung. But again, you look, it's the other way around with your face, which is fair enough.
There we go. Then we go into the 2X mode. Again, I prefer the look on the iPhone, but the clarity on the Samsung is slightly better processed. There's just different ways of them processing the noise. But if I'm gonna duct it, I'm gonna go with the iPhone on this one, person. I'll stick to the iPhone.
See, it's gonna be Samsung for me. And again, it's gonna be personal preference for sure.
Yeah. Now looking at the 3X mode for the Samsung, sticking to 2X on the iPhone, it does struggle here. I don't think the flash in this situation works great with it. Night mode will probably work better, right? But I'm giving it to it because it actually has a 3X mode natively, right? In the camera is native. With the iPhone, you can shoot a normal 3X flash picture and then in the edit, add portrait after. But I'm saying, like, for it to work straight away, it is the Samsung.
You know, again, fair enough, but I was expecting a lot better quality on the Samsung though, especially considering...
Dude, the 3X needs an upgrade. It's low resolution, it needs an upgrade now. Maybe once that upgrade comes, we'll see it, but at least natively, you see the 3X, the flash works, and you get portrait mode. We're giving it to Samsung for that reason.
Yeah, I think it's a fair point.
Last one, 5X zoom with flash and portrait is Samsung all the way.
This is actually a decent picture considering how close that is. Wow.
Yeah, Samsung all the way.
Taking it.
Now, let's flip it to the front-facing camera. Let's look at some selfies. And same routine. Where we do it without night mode, where night mode works and flash works, we make it work. Now, when I look at this straight away, the iPhone's not part of it. I'm taking Pixel and Samsung, right? And it's not because the clarity on the Vivo is not good, right? It just looks too smeared and soft and overprocessed. For me, I'll take the slight noise that comes to the Samsung and then the Pixel.
See, I'm gonna go with Pixel. I really like how much wider it is and the clarity. Unfortunately, Vivo needs to work a lot about selfie, and I mentioned that in my previous videos. Come on, this could be an amazing phone. Just improve the selfie.
Definitely. Let's activate night mode now. And in this particular situation, I have to say it is the Pixel. The Pixel definitely does a good job. And in my opinion, the iPhone actually improves over the Samsung now.
A little bit, yeah. Unfortunately, Vivo's still just too soft.
Nope. And now we've activated the front screen flash. I think definitively it is the Pixel all the way. I think the Pixel is just knocked out the park for each one.
But it's great to see, different phone has its own strengths and weaknesses, and Selfie for Pixel is just way ahead.
Outstanding. Now let's activate portrait mode without night mode active first. And you can see with the Samsung, we really had to get up close and personal, but it worked. The Pixel kind of worked. The middle part between us did not work at all, but the left side of you, the right side of me worked. So I don't like the inconsistency there. The iPhone actually did well all around, even though the image is very soft. But for me, it's Samsung for this one.
It's always Samsung, even though it's not as close as the others, but the quality is just that nice look.
Yeah.
Generally speaking, isn't it?
Now, if you're gonna use night mode, right, this only works on the Samsung and the Pixel when it comes to using portrait mode for the selfie. The others do not give you that option. Honestly, for the selfie, I don't think the Vivo is involved in this one, unfortunately. Colors become a bit weird on Samsung.
Yeah.
I'm still taking it overall because there isn't no patchy bits. The look of the Pixel is the better one, but the portrait mode is just very inconsistent.
It's very struggling there, yeah.
It's struggling, right?
But what's happening with the iPhone there?
It doesn't work at all. It doesn't work at all. They need to activate it.
Yeah.
Now, all of them work with the front screen flash for portrait mode, right? They illuminate well. And I'm still going with Samsung just out of the complete picture. The portrait mode works. The portrait mode works on a Pixel, but with both of us in there, even with the flash, as good as the image is, the portrait blur is patchy. It's not consistent. That's why I'm ducking
exactly the same. I literally, even though it might be strange, you'd be thinking, oh, look, it's just so dark. But
it's the complete image. The portrait works and you see us enough. So it's subtle, but it works.
Yeah, I think we're just way too much with that flashy light on the Pixel. Yeah. No, I don't like it.
Final stretch. Last set of low light images with the rear camera, without us in the frame, landscape images, and very reminiscent of when we had it with us. Without night mode on, the iPhone really isn't there. Honestly, the Pixel without night mode on the ultra wide, brilliant.
Yeah, I love the clarity, but surprisingly, when you look at the colors of the grass, they're just completely different on each shot, which is a bit strange.
Yep. Now into the 1x main wide sensor. Again, it's the Pixel for me. The Vivo does look good. It does look good, but I don't like the colors.
It's just punchy. Like
it's too punchy.
A little bit too much, isn't it?
It's too punchy for me in terms of just outright balance without night mode. The Pixel, man.
I'm gonna agree on that.
Now we are in their 2x crop mode. All of them, to be honest, are struggling here. I don't think all of them are doing all that great. If I'm gonna give it to one, maybe Vivo.
The clarity's there, but again, the color's a bit too punchy.
Now we're in their respective 3x zoom mode. Of course, 3.7x on the Vivo, 3x optical on the Samsung, and then the others are still cropping. The iPhone really does fall apart. This is a struggle fest on all of them. I'm probably still going to give it to the Pixel.
I was just about to say,
I'm probably going to give it to the Pixel.
Pixel and the second for Vivo, and Samsung, unfortunately.
Yeah, I agree with that.
iPhone.
Now we are in their furthest 5x extended zoom range. Now, I wanted to say something. Usually there is the camera assistant extension for the camera app from the Galaxy store. But for this time round, and I don't know whether it's because it's pre-released before the 7th of February, that is not available anymore. And it gives you extra options like being able to extend how long the camera stays on. And also the main thing is to stop the auto lens switching. Meaning if it's on the 5x, it's not doing a crop on the main wide sensor. It's actually on the 5x, right? So not having this option on the Samsung, we kind of just have to let the camera do its thing. I'm quickly interrupting this program to say that the camera assistant extension is now available on the Galaxy S25 Ultra. Now, as of this recording, it's like the 28th of January, almost 1 a.m. in the morning in the UK, or just past it. I've checked it to do the recording of the B-roll again, comparing it to the Galaxy S24 Ultra, and it is there. As we were doing the camera comparison on the 25th of January on a Saturday, it wasn't available. Double check, triple check many times, but I thought let me update you, but we're gonna carry on with the camera comparison as is. And in this particular situation, I actually still would give it to the Pixel.
It's a really hard choice because they are different look, and it's probably down to your personal preference. But you know what? I just like the look of the iPhone.
Now let's run it back. Last set, night mode is now active. And I've said this right now. I think the Pixel does such a good job without night mode. It doesn't actually need it. It just overdoes it now. The iPhone needs night mode most, right? It really helps to improve it. And overall, I think the others do great minus the colors.
Yeah. It's going to be between Vivo and Samsung for me. And look at it, also something worth mentioning on the Vivo, they just add that artificial blue sky effect, which I don't really like.
Yeah. Now in the 2X mode, again, I think things really improve well for the iPhone. But again, you can see the light blurring with the cars on the back. This is kind of like the disadvantage of using night mode. It is long exposure, so things like shake, blur, and light bleed is something to consider. But overall, I think I'm still going to go with the Pixel. I actually think the Samsung's clarity is better. It's just maybe how it punches up the colors in the grass that I don't like too much. But overall, that's just my choice.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's going to be between Samsung and iPhone. I don't really like the grass on the Vivo. Like, it's just so artificial.
Yeah, no, I don't like it either.
Yeah, and like you said with the Pixel, it's just way too bright. It's just a bit too much.
Yeah. Now we are in the 3X mode. And again, I like the clarity of the sign on the Samsung, just not the colors of the grass and foliage. But if you look at the processing on the iPhone, it's just too much. You know, there isn't enough clarity. Whereas, although the image is processed on the Pixel, it does give good detail, right? So that's something to consider. Are you looking at the grass? Are you looking at the sign or the colors? What's your priority?
Yeah. I mean, you know what? I prefer Vivo here for some reason. It's just pleasing to my eye.
Nice, fair. And last and final one, in the maximum extended 5X zoom mode with night mode active. And in this particular situation, cool, it's a tough pick, but I am gonna say it's between the Pixel and the Samsung. And the only reason why is I feel like the colors just become weirdly too warm on the iPhone. Things look good on the Vivo, right? There's nothing inherently wrong with it, but for me, it's between Samsung and the Pixel.
You see, depending how you look at it, you see, for me, it's the Vivo and iPhone that I prefer.
All right, interesting. Which one would you pick out of the two?
Let us know.
Final interjection and analysis is macro mode performance. Now, Samsung does have a new 50 megapixel ultra wide. So when we look at the minimum focusing distance from the 1X, all of them have great minimum focusing distance on the 1X, except for the iPhone. The iPhone 16 Pro Max does struggle. And when you go beyond that minimum focusing distance, that's when you start to see it blur. This is where beyond that, activating macro mode really helps. And the iPhone really gets close. Now, all of them actually do, but the iPhone, I felt like it could really get close and up and personal to the subject, which is really good. What's interesting though, Samsung with the new 50 megapixel ultra wide gives you two modes. You've got your standard pixel binner mode with focus enhancer, the flower icon, and then you can select the 50 megapixel mode, which actually then changes the resolution to 17 megapixels, which is great to see. So there's more detail that comes out of it. I love the flexibility and it really allows you to get close and have great detail. But I will say the iPhone does really pull very close to the subject. So it's interesting to see the approach to macro mode now. Another thing to add is the capture speed experience. Now, Samsung have said they've greatly improved the shutter speed experience in terms of the capturing speed across the board. So we pretty much did a comparison of both, where I did a running motion, then stopped, and then a jumping motion. Now, this isn't exactly scientific, but it's just a way to see how quickly you can capture and freeze the frame with the least amount of blur across the board. I'm gonna let it run through so you can see it and compare all of them together. Now that we've analyzed the photos, it's now time for the video section. Now, the best way to watch this part of the camera comparison is on the largest display possible with headphones on so you can hear the audio quality and audio switching. and also at the highest resolution and frame rate at 4K 60. Of course, there's chapters linked in the description below, but sit back, relax, because it's going to be a detailed one. We're now recording in the 4K UHD 60 frames a second video recorder mode on the selfie front-facing camera on the Galaxy S25 Ultra, iPhone 16 Pro Max, Pixel 9 Pro XL, and of course the Vivo X200 Pro. We're just seeing how the image quality is like, sharpness, detail, colors, dynamic range, and of course, the best part, video stabilization. Let's do a quick run. We are now recording in the 4K UHD 30 frames a second video recorder mode on the selfie camera for the Galaxy S25 Ultra, the iPhone 16 Pro Max, Pixel 9 Pro XL, and the Vivo X200 Pro. We're just seeing how the image quality is like, sharpness, details, colors, dynamic range, and of course, video stabilization. Let's do a quick run. Shout out to Darius Tech in the back.
Selfie camera, amazing devices, flagship. Come on guys, this is amazing camera comparison. 4K 30 FPS on selfie. Let me know what you think about the stabilization and let me do a little run. It's really tricky to hold those phones in the tripod, but what do you think?
We are now recording in their respective video portrait mode, front-facing camera, background blur effect on the S25 Ultra, iPhone 16 Pro Max, and the Vivo X200 Pro. You cannot do this on the Pixel 9 Pro XL on a selfie camera, unfortunately. You can do it on a rear camera, but it's limited to 1080p 24. Now, the Galaxy S25 Ultra and the iPhone 16 Pro Max allow you to do this in 4K 30 frames a second. And the Vivo is limited to 1080p 30 frames a second on the selfie, but it can do this in 4K on the rear cameras. More on that later. Now, just a few things to go through as we are doing the video portrait mode, and you can see the image quality here. We are now recording in the 4K UHD 30 frames a second video recorder mode on the rear 1X camera, starting on the Galaxy S25 Ultra, iPhone 16 Pro Max, Pixel 9 Pro XL, and the Vivo X200 Pro. We're just seeing how the image quality is like, sharpness, details, colors, dynamic range, and of course the best part, video stabilization. Quick run. Now, we are going to switch to the ultra wide. All these cameras do allow simultaneous lens switching on the fly without having to stop recording. Let's do a quick run. I'm going to go to 2x, 2x, 2x. And this is going to be a slow walk. And then we're going to switch over to the 3x zoom, and this is doing a digital crop on the Pixel and the iPhone, optical on a Samsung, and then with the Vivo it's a 3.7x, which is also optical as well. Let's go into 5x, 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 5x. This is going to be a slow walk. See which one's more steady. So Samsung's doing really well here. And I'm going to come back to the 1x, 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 and 1x. Now, in this particular situation, as you can see, you can switch between all the lenses continuously without stopping recording. And you can pause the video and continue on the same clip on all of them, which is great to see, and take pictures at the same time. But here's the trick, right? You can flip to the front-facing camera on the Galaxy S25 Ultra. Here. And you've got that on the Vivo as well. That is incredible. Great look from Samsung and Vivo, all on the same clip. You can switch between the rear lenses and the front-facing camera. Love to see it. We are now recording in the 4K UHD 60 frames per second video recording mode on the rear cameras for the Galaxy S25 Ultra, iPhone 16 Pro Max, Pixel 9 Pro XL, and the Vivo X200 Pro. We're just seeing how the image quality is like, sharpness, colors, details, dynamic range, and of course, video stabilization. Let's do a quick run. Now let's switch to the ultra wide. Switching to the ultra wide. Ultra wide. Quick run. Two X, 2X, 2X, 2X. It's just a steady walk. Go to 3X, 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 which is optical, 3.7, which is optical on the Vivo. Five X, 5X, 5X, 5X. And we're going to come back to the 1X. 1X, 1X, 1X. Now, as you can see, you can do simultaneous lens switching on the rear camera on the fly without having to stop recording. Take pictures at the same time, pause the video, and continue on the same clip. But Samsung does allow you to flip it to the front-facing camera. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant, Samsung. Great work. Unfortunately, Vivo shows you the option, but it says you cannot do it in 4K 60. You're limited to flipping it to the front-facing camera at the same time in 4K 30. Vivo, we need to update this. But Samsung, you've got this one on absolute smash. Great work. We're now recording in their respective action mode, super stabilization, ultra stabilization modes across the board. I'll have marked all the resolutions and modes in here. We're doing it at 30 FPS and we're doing it on the 1X. Let's do an extreme fast run. We are now recording in the 4K UHD 30 frames per second video recorder mode on the 1X rear camera on the Galaxy S25 Ultra, the iPhone 16 Pro Max, the Pixel 9 Pro XL, and of course, the Vivo X200 Pro. Now Darius, what do you think the results are going to be for this when it comes to rear camera?
I'm really looking forward to this one because the Vivo X200 Pro was my favorite device in terms of camera performance. So
nice.
It was really good to see how it performs comparing with those flagship devices.
Well, let's see how it looks. We've now switched to the ultra wide, the respective 0.5 and 0.6x in 4K 30 on the S25 Ultra, the iPhone 16 Pro Max, Pixel 9 Pro XL, and the Vivo X200 Pro. Now I'm going to tell Darius to stand here. I'm just going to walk up close quickly just to see if there's any focus hunting, right? Yeah. And pretty much just see how the image quality is like. Now the ultra wide is high resolution on pretty much all of them. This is a new installment for the Samsung. It's 50 megapixel on the ultra wide now, which is great to see. How do you think it's going to hold up?
Right. Mainly, I'm really excited about the video quality because, you know, I am using my smartphone for content creation. So I know there's a lot of people out there, they're actually using the smartphones to make content.
Indeed. Let's see how it looks with the ultra wide. We are now recording in the 4K UHD 30 frames per second video recorder mode on the Galaxy S25 Ultra, iPhone 16 Pro Max, Pixel 9 Pro XL, and the Vivo X200 Pro. We're now in the 2X crop mode. This is doing a crop on the main 1X wide sensor. And we're at a distance with both of us in the frame. Oh, let's see how it performs. What do you think?
You know, what I'm thinking now is the sound quality because I'm testing it on the smartphones, and for me, sound quality is also very important. So I'll be curious to see how they all compare.
Yeah, absolutely. We are now recording in the 4K UHD 30 frames per second video recording mode on the rear cameras, the Galaxy S25 Ultra, iPhone 16 Pro Max, Pixel 9 Pro XL, and of course the Vivo X200 Pro. Now, we've gone into their respective 3X zoom mode. 3X, which is optical on the Galaxy S25 Ultra. 3X, which is a digital crop on a 1X on the iPhone with a Pixel. And then we've got 3.7X, which is optical on the Vivo X200 Pro. But further now, how's the image going to look like? Let's see.
Now, what I'm also curious about is the 4K 120 frames per second. It's pretty impressive these days that you can actually get such a high frame rate on a smartphone.
Yeah, but we want to get some exciting shots. It's not just going to be us, so stay tuned for that one for sure.
Oh, yes.
We are now recording in the 4K UHD 30 frames per second video recording mode on the S25 Ultra, iPhone 16 Pro Max, Pixel 9 Pro XL, and of course the Vivo X200 Pro. We are really getting far into this. Is our 5X Super telephoto zoom range, and we are pretty much going to be seeing, can it pick up our voices? And what's the audio quality like, and the image quality further down areas?
Now, what I'm also really curious about is the 200 megapixel sensor on the Vivo, because even though we are so far away, hopefully the quality is still going to be very decent.
It's going to be an interesting one because you do have some stiff competition when it comes to high resolution. Let's see how they look like in 4K 30.
Absolutely.
We are now recording in their respective video portrait mode on the 1X camera on the Galaxy S25 Ultra, iPhone 16 Pro Max, Pixel 9 Pro XL, and the Vivo X200 Pro. Now let's break it down because it gets a bit technical when it gets to this part in the different focal lengths. Now, with the Samsung, you do have the option of doing this in 4K UHD 30 frames per second, same as the iPhone and same as the Vivo, which is great to see. But with the Pixel 9 Pro XL, this is limited to 1080p and it's just 24 FPS, no 30 FPS option. Let's see how it behaves when it comes to having both of us in the frame as a subject, 1X. Darius, what do you think?
Yes, well, also worth mentioning because the Vivo has filters that you can add on and make those shots just a little bit different. And what's great, that resolution stays still in 4K, and you can also go 24 frames per second, which is pretty nice. Got that option.
Great flexibility there and being able to do that. And of course, with the iPhone, you do have the ability to change the blur after you finish recording and the blur point, so it stores all the metadata. You can't have effects, but the fact that you can edit it after you finish recording is great. You've got different editing effects on the Samsung. Again, you saw that on the Selfie where you can change it with the glitch effects, and you can change the blur while you're recording, but after you finish recording, it's all baked in. You can't edit it. So there's great benefits when it comes to flexibility on what you get with the Vivo, the Samsung, and the iPhone. But with the Pixel, what you get is what you see.
Yeah, it's a bit of disappointment. I mean, flagship for this kind of money, 1080p, in my opinion, just not good enough.
Absolutely. We are still recording in their respective video portrait mode on the Galaxy S25 Ultra, iPhone 16 Pro Max, Pixel 9 Pro XL, and the Vivo X200 Pro. Now we've gone into their 2X crop mode on the digital wide sensor. We're still able to do this, of course, on the Vivo and the Samsung and the iPhone, while still doing it in 4K 30. You don't have that option at all on the Pixel. It's 1X and 1X only. How do we think the image is going to look like when it comes to processing?
Now, as we know, Pixel's really improving, the software and how it optimizes it. But again, because it's only 1080p, I'm not even want to think about it. It'll be between those three flagships, that's for sure.
Yep, absolutely. Be interesting to see how they look. We're still recording in their respective video portrait mode on the S25 Ultra, iPhone 16 Pro Max, Vivo X200. This part here is all Vivo. 3.7X Super Telephoto Zoom, and it's using the optical sensor in 4K 30. This is the first and the only phone that I know of where in video portrait mode it is actually using its optical super resolution and zoom sensor. The iPhone doesn't have a 3X zoom, so I understand it there, and to an extent I wish it would do on a 5X. But the Samsung has a 3X zoom, and Samsung are still limiting their ability to use it as properly on a 1X, which is unfortunate. Darius, what do you think about this, man?
Right, I cannot wait to see the quality on the bigger screen, because I use portrait video mode all the time, and Vivo is my main driver, so I know that it's good, but I would love to see it on the big screen.
Honestly, this is such a good look on Vivo, allowing you to use the 3.7x optical video portrait mode in 4K 30. Love to see. We are now recording in their respective high-resolution 8K 30fps video recorder mode, and this is only available on the Galaxy S25 Ultra, the Vivo X200 Pro, and the Pixel 9 Pro XL. But there's a catch. Now, first, the iPhone is limited to just 4K 30, and that is the highest resolution in terms of 4K, right? It does 4K 60, but 4K is the highest resolution. Natively, with no assistance, you get 8K 30 on the S25 Ultra and the Vivo X200 Pro. You get 8K 30 on the Pixel, but that needs video boost. You can't do that natively. Now, what that basically means is we need an internet connection for the Pixel. So natively, what's looking really good is the Samsung and the Vivo. How is the image quality going to be looking at? Darius, what do you think?
Now, 8K, this is something that I don't use personally, and I know there's loads of people that never actually use it. But you know what? We're here for you, because there might be someone that actually need 8K, and that's what we're doing here today.
Hey, these are flagship Pro and Ultra devices, and it's a showcase of their technology. So
Absolutely.
That's what we love to see. So it's going to be interesting to see how they look like. We're still recording in their respective 8K 30 frames per second video recorder mode on the S25 Ultra, Vivo X200 Pro, and the Pixel 9 Pro XL. Of course, the iPhone is limited to 4K 30. Now, you're going to notice the focal length has changed. You're seeing the ultra-wide perspective on the S25 Ultra because thanks to the new 50 megapixel ultra-wide, Samsung have enabled 8K 30 FPS recording for it. That's insane! I've not seen that on any phone. That is a showcase of technology, all native. What do you think?
Now, what I'm thinking is also the color accuracy, especially the skin tones. You can see, you know, our skin is slightly different, so
very different.
It will be interesting to see which one is the most accurate.
But regardless, being able to do 8K recording on the ultra-wide, impressive. We're still recording in their respective 8K 30 frames per second video recorder mode on the Galaxy S25 Ultra, the Vivo X200 Pro, and of course we do have that on the Pixel 9 Pro XL with video boost, and the iPhone is limited to 4K 30 on the 5X. But here is the thing, the 5X is native optical on the Galaxy S25 Ultra, and then it's optical on the Pixel 9 Pro XL. But again, that's using video boost, it's not native. And you will see a 5X option on the Vivo X200 Pro, but you have to press it and slide in. It doesn't show you on the UI. And that's not optical. It doesn't switch over, and it is using it on a 1X sensor. I think this one, Samsung takes it. Now, what do you think?
Absolutely. I mean, you know, people say there's not much upgrade over the S24 Ultra, but these little things makes a huge difference, especially for people that love videography, not just pictures. I'm talking about video now.
And it's just going to be interesting to see how much video boost is going to help it. But natively, and we've got to give it to Samsung for this.
And thank you for letting me know about the Vivo, because I did not know that I can go town to town without. So thank you.
To UI experience, right? So it's really good to see. We are now recording in the 4K UHD 30 frames a second video recorder mode on the rear cameras on the Galaxy S25 Ultra, iPhone 16 Pro Max, Pixel 9 Pro XL, and the Vivo X200 Pro. And we're just seeing how the low light performance is like. Ultra wide, ultra wide. Two X, 2X, 2X. And back to 1X. We're recording now in their respective 4K UHD 30 frames a second video recorder mode on the 1X rear camera. This is on the Galaxy S25 Ultra, iPhone 16 Pro Max, Pixel 9 Pro XL, and the Vivo X200 Pro. We're just sticking to the 1X main wide sensor since it's low light, and we're just seeing how the image quality is going to be like. Darius, what do you think the low light performance will be like between them?
I don't know. I'm going to say one thing. I'm cold. We spent all day, half a night. So if you appreciate it, smash that like. We would really appreciate that.
And obviously, subscribe. Head over to Darius Tech, subscribe as well. We're now recording in their respective video portrait mode, and this is just on the 1X rear sensor at the back. Again, we're going to mark each one for their resolution and frame rate as we went through in the daytime shots. We're just seeing which one actually works in low light best when it comes to video portrait mode.
Correct.
Yeah. We're now on the front-facing camera selfie in 4K UHD 30 frames a second on the Galaxy S25 Ultra, iPhone 16 Pro Max, Pixel 9 Pro XL, and the Vivo X200 Pro. We've got both me and Darius in there. We're just checking the selfie to see how it performs.
Just looking at the quality, but you know what, guys? On a small screen, it's really hard to say which one is actually the best.
And of course, make sure you're watching this on the largest screen possible with headphones, so you can hear the audio quality, and also at the highest resolution at 2160p and 60 FPS.
Correct.
We're just going to do a very, very quick overall analysis of the video experience that we had with these devices. First is going to be with the Vivo. One thing we really appreciate is the video portrait mode with the rear cameras. It is the only phone that I know of that actually allows you to use the optical telephoto zoom in video portrait mode, right? The 3.7x works 4K 30 video portrait mode. Any other camera that I've used, even if they have an optical for 3x or 6x, still do a crop on a 1x, right? Even if it's in 1080p or 4K, right? This is true for the Galaxy S25 Ultra. It does not use the 3x for 4K 30 in video portrait mode on the rear. I don't know why, but the Vivo does. I've got to give it praise, and it looks great.
Quality, because again, it's still 4K 30 FPS.
Yeah.
And you got the option to switch to 24 if you want.
Absolutely. So video portrait mode for the rear camera with the zoom, gotta give it to the Vivo on that one.
Very impressive.
Next one is 8K. Samsung, this is just a proof of pure technology. Native 8K recording now on the ultra wide, the 1X and the 5X. Like, I'm sorry, that is just incredibly good, because with the Pixel, it's not native. It is with video boost. And you do have 8K on the Vivo. It is, right? It's there, but it's only on the 1X. Can't do it on the Zoom, can't do it on the ultra wide. Now, I have to just give praise for Samsung for that flexibility, right?
Yeah, the quality, like they pushing the boundaries. I know what you're saying, like probably 8K, you're not going to use it, but when you look at the quality on the smartphone, on the big screen,
it makes a difference.
Just mind-blowing.
And it's what an ultra phone should be. It should be a showcase of technology as well. It's like top trumps, right? And Samsung, credit where credit's due, make the high resolution on a 3X, then you can do all 8K on all of them. And you know what? I'm gonna give you free game. Take it a step further. Once all the rear cameras can do 8K, allow them to be switching simultaneously without having to stop recording. I cannot wait to get there with the Samsung.
That'll be interesting to see.
Very interesting to see. Next is gonna be the lens switching. I've always said this, smartphones need to be the most accessible and usable cameras. And I have to give praise to both Vivo and Samsung, right? They allow you in 4K 30 to not just switch between the rear cameras, but also to the front-facing camera, right? This makes it so flexible. It means you can shoot at the highest resolution in the moment, not have to stop recording and not miss a beat. It's so important. Credit to Vivo and Samsung for that. But Samsung takes it a step further. It allows you to do that in 4K 60 as well. The only camera system that I know of that allows you to switch between all the cameras at the back and then to the selfie in 4K 60. It may not seem like a big deal, but let me tell you, for usability, right, this is what an ultra phone is about.
Now, worth mentioning, guys, this is something that I always talk about, it's the price. Now, when you consider the price of iPhone and Pixel, I mean, Samsung's still expensive, but again, they give you those extra features, which is very impressive. The Vivo cost me £729. When you look at all the devices, it just, if you feel like you just
really getting the most out of
honestly,
it.
you get the value for money because
it's impressive. It's impressive. Next is video log profile. Now, of course, we didn't really have time to really showcase it, but it's good to see that we've got official 10-bit video recording on the Galaxy S25 Ultra. Again, it was there, but it was kind of in beta. This is now official. It's at the forefront. It's 10-bit. And in terms of the tone mapping to SDR, much easier process, which is something I really like on the Samsung. And of course, the log profile, if you really want to dial in your color grading, is great. Again, not many people are going to use this, but we say this, it's an ultra phone. You've seen the competition do it. It's a showcase of technology. We appreciate that it is there.
Absolutely. Another good one is the 4K 120 frames per second. Yeah. And we are getting there. Like, I remember a couple of years back, there was only one or two smartphones. Sony was probably one of the few, the first one that actually did it. And now, look at this.
And it's great. With the 4K 120, it's high resolution, it's slow motion. And obviously with the Vivo and the iPhone, you can shoot it as individual frames. With the Samsung, you can shoot it as individual frames, but you have to go into the video pro mode, so you get the audio and shoot it as normal. One thing I appreciate is that the 4K 120 for the Samsung is now available in the ultra wide in the slow motion mode. In the past, it wasn't available on the ultra wide in the slow motion mode, but you could get it on the ultra wide in the pro mode. So again, it makes it much more seamless. And recording slow mo in general, I want to say a big thank you to the guys at our local park. These bikers, man, really made life easy for us. Right at the right time. I think it's James and Riley and the crew. Really appreciate you guys. I'll link their Instagram in the description below. Made it such a joy to capture the slow motion and just saved us so much time. We're running against the sun and time and daylight, so really appreciate the support there. And looking at those situations, having high quality slow-mo is important. And I say this because Google, they seem to be really far behind when it comes to slow motion now. They really need to up their level. So let's hope the next Tensor, the next Pixel with the 10 series really improves this. Now I'm going to touch on one last final thing just to wrap up with the video analysis and summary is front-facing video performance. Now overall, I really like what Samsung do here. I really like what Apple do here as well, because you've got 4K 30 all the way up there with video portrait mode for the selfie. Vivo falls short there. It's 1080p. For some reason, it's limited to 1080p for the selfie, right? I don't think the Pixel's really in this in terms of full feature set. Yes, it's nice and wide and the clarity is good, but it doesn't have the feature set because you can't do video portrait mode for the selfie. I think overall, I'm taking iPhone for feature set, even though I prefer the looks of what you're getting with the Samsung. Here's why. For whatever reason, Samsung have taken away the video portrait effects that you can do when you're recording. You had like the different blur effects or glitch and all these things. They've removed all those fun features.
That's actually a fair point.
You know, you can still change the intensity while you're recording.
Yeah.
But I think it's much more beneficial to have the ability to store all the metadata and add the blur and take the blur away after you finish shooting. That's one thing Apple does really well. Yes, you can't change the intensity while you're recording. You can change it before you start, and most importantly, you can change it after you finish recording. I think that's just so much better for feature set. I'm going with the iPhone for that reason for video on the selfie, but overall, in terms of the actual image, I prefer the Samsung.
I'm gonna agree on that, absolutely.
Last honorable mention does go to Audio Eraser. Although limited on time based on the turnaround that we had for this camera comparison, Audio Eraser is great to see in terms of being able to isolate sound in their environment when things get noisy. So it's great to see Samsung have also added this amongst other great features that we've mentioned, but definitely stick around as future camera comparisons, we will try and showcase this for sure. And that is it with our definitive camera comparison between the Galaxy S25 Ultra, the Vivo X200 Pro, the iPhone 16 Pro Max, and the Pixel 9 Pro XL. So Darius, honestly, thank you for coming through with the assist on the Vivo X200 Pro. They've been asking for me to do it. We've done it now. We've got a definitive one. Let us know your thoughts in the comment section below. Like I said, be sure to head over to Darius Tech, subscribe, watch his camera comparisons all the way through. We're to 100K subscribers for him as well. And of course, hit up this video. Do not forget, go and check out the extreme battery drain test up until the 28th of February 2025. One lucky subscriber is going to be in for a chance to win a brand new S25 Ultra. And if you do not believe me, last year we had a winner in Portugal that won the S24 Ultra. I'll put evidence in the comment section below as well as the description. It's real, people. Hit the requirements in the video, follow the instructions, and trust me, you're going to be in for a chance to win it. Apart from that, we are signing out. That's it for me, Ben from Lover of Tech.
Darius Tech here. See you later.
If you enjoyed this video, of course, be sure to like, subscribe, and turn the notifications so you don't miss any future videos on the channel. We hope you're all safe during this time. We'll catch you in the next one. Peace.